What is that?
All right, dude, we're going inside.
Steve, wait up.
Matt, look at this.
Holy.
Hello and welcome to the Horror Movie Iceberg podcast, where myself and Russell Howell watch disturbing horror movies until we tap out. My name is Ryan Cam, and Russell is here live from the shining star of the Caribbean, Puerto Rico. Russell, how are you?
Good. I'm in San Juan as we're recording this. Everything's been great. I'm looking forward to talking about Josh Trank's Chronicle.
Yeah, I double checked and triple checked. The next one up on the iceberg is indeed Chronicle. I could have sworn that this movie was not really considered horror, but if this iceberg is counting it, and that's the one we're following, then we've gotta cover it. I mean, if we're following the letter of the iceberg law, I guess. But I mean, I could have sworn I thought I had covered this movie on this channel, but apparently I haven't. So that's going to be covered right here and now. And spoiler alert, I really, really like this movie. And it tells the story of three high schoolers who, at a party one night, discover a meteorite of some sort in the backyard of where the party is. All three of them get zapped by said meteorite, only to be given powers of telekinesis and eventually the ability to fly. Well, it does not take long for at least one of these kids to get drunk with power to very disturbing results. So, Russell, this came out in 2012. Secretly a pretty loaded year for movies. We got The Avengers, Django Unchained, a bunch of others I'm pretty much missing in this moment. But I
Yeah.
feel like Chronicle is one that I've loved and defended since I've seen it.
Oh, 100%. I remember seeing this movie in 2012. I adored it. I appreciated the fact that it was dealing with superpowers, not so much the superhero aspect of it, which I can appreciate, especially in a day and age where you're so oversaturated with Marvel movies, DC films. It was nice to a couple. Keep in mind this is only 4 years post Iron Man, so it really wasn't it's 2012. Obviously, the Avengers culminating there for the phase one, but to me, I just feel like this movie just does so much more exploring the darker side of it. Like what happens with these powers? How does that change you? What do you do? Do you know what I mean? And I think Trank does a really good job doing this, and I think the movie runtime being so short um, gives him. I mean, there's little time to breathe in this film. I mean, everything is. I think everything's important. There's no wasted minutes in the film. And I really appreciate that.
Like you were talking about, we weren't at the superhero movie boom yet, but we were
Yeah.
getting there.
Yeah.
And smack dab just in the early stages of it is what I'm going to call a super villain origin story. Because even though this titular super villain doesn't really make it out, this is pretty much a villain origin story, like the textbook villain origin story. To put a finer point on the plot, the three high schoolers are named Andrew, Matt, and Steve. They're played by Dane DeHaan, Alex Russell, and Michael B. Jordan, respectively. Yes, the Michael B. Jordan you're thinking of. We will get to him. But the most interesting character is Andrew, played by Dane DeHaan, and the movie basically revolves around him and his struggles. Because to not get super granular on the plot, he lives in a very abusive household. His father is just terrible. He beats him up. He's an alcoholic. His mother is dying of, I believe they say, lung cancer. It's some
Yeah,
kind of a cancer.
I think yeah.
He gets bullied at school, it like relentlessly. Nothing is going this kid's way. Really,
Yeah.
the only positive influence is his cousin named Matt, played by Alex Russell, who Matt has his own problems and things going on. So he makes appearances, but he's not a cure-all. And so you have a fertile breeding ground for this story to kind of take root, if you will, because after one insult too many, Andrew's just crying outside this party. He's done, he's over it. And then Steve comes along, Michael B. Jordan's character is like, "You got a camera, right? Come here, I need you to film something."
Yeah.
We get into the heart of the matter.
Yes. I mean, I think this is where, they find, a little bit of popularity in a talent show and all that stuff. And I think that really just kind of drives their characters too. Obviously, a young Michael B. Jordan, as Steve is more your jock, your popular guy. Um, and with these set powers though, they're high schoolers, and it's funny because they look nothing like high schoolers. But for the sake of film, sure, we'll go there. Um, but yeah, just to see them wrestling around with these newfound powers, and obviously Andrew's character Dane DeHaan, we see all the things in his life that are going, horrible for him. He has these new powers where he feels, invincible. You know what I mean? And obviously, you kind of see where this goes from there.
It's interesting with this trio of actors. Michael B. Jordan is one of the biggest actors going today. He's got a movie coming out in a couple weeks called Sinners, which looks pretty good, directed by Ryan Coogler. He was a television actor for a really long time. I remember him
Yeah.
from his brief role in The Wire, but
Uh,
it was around the 2010s, the early 2010s, that he really started to pick up some serious momentum. He got on my radar first from Fruitvale Station, which may a review of that may or may not be coming to the channel very soon. Stay tuned for that. But Fruitvale Station will just rip your heart out, but that's a
oh yeah.
story for a whole nother time. Point I'm trying to get at is that if you love Michael Jordan, watch this movie. It's not his best work, but you can see where the origins begin of, okay, this dude's got potential.
Yeah, I my exposure to him was Friday Night Lights. Um,
Oh, that's right. He was in
in
that show.
in the later seasons, yeah, or later season. I think he was only in the season two. But I love that show, and even that show I think really kind of showcased, just what type of talent acting, abilities he had. Obviously, Fruitvale Station, Chance and I have talked about that on our podcast as well. That was the first exposure I had. Definitely one of those films that has something important to say. It's heartbreaking, but you definitely see why this guy obviously is still around making films now. Obviously, with the Creed trilogy, I mean, he's been pretty solid.
I mean, those Creed movies are just phenomenal, all three of them. I don't care what anyone says.
Yeah,
But outside of Michael B. Jordan, the most famous person to come out of here was Dane DeHaan, and Dane DeHaan is still working pretty consistently. He's in the American Primeval show on Netflix from Peter Berg, but his credit list is a mile long, and this was my first exposure to him, and I thought he just I thought he did a great job here.
yeah, I
Without
agree.
spoiling too much, like I said, he comes from a really rough home. His cousin's there sometimes. So when he gets these powers, it's like I am in control of something for the first time in my life. And it just immediately, like not immediately, but over time just goes to his head. It starts out
Yeah,
innocent, starts out like moving some Lego blocks and throwing baseballs at their head and stopping them,
yeah,
stuff like that. And then they start to fly, and that's when things begin to get risky. It's the story of Icarus making wings out of wax and flying too close to the sun.
yeah, yeah. That's a perfect analogy for it. It's what having all these abilities can only lead to a downfall, and it's obviously what you deal with obviously in this film with no spoilers, but I think Trank does such a great job with the short runtime, really just honing in on the three characters. I think they really have good chemistry together. I think it's a perfect film in the fact that I like it because it was small budget. It made decent. It made really good money. I remember seeing this in theaters, and they didn't have to do a sequel or anything. Like it was just a standalone film. It worked. It told its story, and I just think it was really relevant. Like I said, it was more the superpowers, not the superheroes, and I liked
Another thing I wanted to bring up before I forgot was the cousin named Matt, played by Alex Russell. Now he
that.
is out of the three, he's gone on to, I mean, if you consider Michael B. Jordan's career and Dane DeHaan's career, he's gone on to have the least amount of success. He still has work. He's on a TV show now called SWAT on CBS, so he's still working and plying his trade, but but I think that his performance was quite good. And while objectively, like Andrew is the main character, Matt is the one who realizes, yeah, maybe us having powers is not exactly a good thing, or at
He's
least what we're doing is like gone from we're just having fun to okay, we could be putting ourselves in some real danger here.
he's the level-headed one, I'm pretty
Mm.
sure. I think that his character's important, and yeah, it is kind of crazy that his career really didn't like blow up. I mean, yeah, SWAT I see it has been. Actually, I think it's done. It was like 2017 to 2024, so I think that's done. But still, that's still 7 seasons of a TV show is pretty successful. Dane DeHaan, obviously, Valerian. I remember him a couple years later. He'd be in Valerian, which I enjoyed that film. A lot of people hated bash that film. Um, and I thought he's a really solid actor. I just really wish that he would be in more uh, films that you know what I mean, more popular or more well known films, I should say, not popular. You know what I mean? I think he's a really good actor. Um, and it's just a shame that we don't really see him that much, you know.
Yeah, like I said, everything starts out innocent enough. Legos, baseballs, they prank other people in like stores, they move cars
Mhm.
across a parking lot. And I think it's when they start to fly that's like, okay, things are getting serious now.
Yeah,
I did a little bit of research and come to find out the original script was supposed to have Michael B. Jordan's character die not by a lightning strike, but by being hit by a plane in midair, which
uh,
I'm glad, like Max Landis, who
yeah,
wrote the screenplay for this or did the rewrites,
yeah.
did away with that whole thing. And Max Landis is a problematic individual, but he was onto something with that.
I like the lightning strike better. To me, I think it's better.
Yeah.
Um, yeah,
Plus, in the context of what the movie was trying to go for, it makes a lot more sense because, and I won't give too much away, but let's just say a big thing happens at like the peak of Andrew's like confidence. And then
yeah,
when that bad thing happens, like it's the slippery slope that leads straight into the abyss. And
yeah,
one more actor I wanted to bring up before I forgot was Michael Kelly, who is just a longtime character actor. He's one of those actors you've seen his face, but you don't know his name. Like his list of credits is just endless. Like,
oh
like
yeah,
I've always known him as Dean Stamper from House of Cards on Netflix. I thought he was great in that. But like
yeah,
literally, you go down the list and it's just a mile long. Like he's just the sidekick to the villain in everything. Like
yeah,
he's the consigliere, the right hand. But here, he's not the villain, but like he's as close to like the he's sort of the antagonist in the traditional sense of he moves everything forward. Legitimately, one of the more disturbing scenes in I've seen in a found footage movie, because this is found footage, we'll get to that, is when he just straight up beats up his son, like
yeah,
full on, like just in full view of the camera. Like he has no conceit that like that might be recording, it might be on. He just goes and does it just because
yeah,
his son doesn't open the door for him. And
yeah,
Andrew's mother is dying, so I'm sure that maybe the trauma of that has something to do with it, but you don't hit your kids. Like that is a low that you just don't stoop to. And I won't get too
yeah.
deep into that, but I'm just hitting kids is just that's like that's a no-go in any case.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. You could see that his character is obviously wrestling around with, you know, his wife's dying, and we don't know if alcoholism runs through the family, if it's a chronic thing that maybe his father abused him. You know, we don't know. What you see is just a grim, um, you know, outlook on life of this character. It's just one of those things where it's like you feel bad for him because you know you want you know his character to not obviously have to deal with that kind of stuff. But you know, and obviously, I think that obviously adds fuel to the fire from you know things that happen.
To kind of put a finer point and kind of bring things home to a conclusion, is that I want to bring up the found footage aspect. For some, this is an immediate turnoff. I think the found footage actually works. It's one of the better excuses for a found footage movie to ever exist because Andrew does it because he's afraid of what might happen to him or his mom, and
Yeah,
so is like, I'm just going to start recording things and see what happens. So,
yeah.
like,
When
a
yeah,
lot of cases, it's like, we're just doing it just because, like, or just like it's very obvious they did it for budgetary reasons, but here there's like a very dark reason as to why the camera like is like on all of the time. And I feel like it could have jumped the shark, especially at the end where the final battle is Andrew versus Matt in the city. But I like how they did it with like everything is shooting Andrew, but like through iPhone cameras and iPad
yeah,
cameras. And obviously the
yeah,
tech has been boosted for the sake of it's a movie, so it just looks good. It is what it is. And I don't think
yeah,
iPhones in 2012 were that picture quality, but that's just from my memory anyway. But I
yeah.
think they committed to the bit. And I think that's my biggest compliment that I can say about the found footage. They committed to the bit.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I think found footage, when done well, can be, execute when shot well, executed well. I think it could be a powerful, powerful film. I mean, obviously we've had our, we've had the good and we've had the bad of found footage. I think this one's great in the aspect that it is different. It's superhero or superpowers. That's something that was completely different at the time. So I thought was more unique, and I really thought that doing such a good job like Trank did really helped catapult him into this guy's actually going to be a pretty good director. Obviously, we'll talk, with Fantastic Four, when things go wrong there, I don't know how much input he had or didn't have on the film, but he had a stacked cast that, I mean, they should have put out a way better product than they did, and obviously Michael B. Jordan again. Miles Teller he had a fantastic cast there for that. That should have been a lot better than it was. But Trank definitely hit the mark on this one. The found footage, I think, works perfectly in this film, and the fact that the short runtime, easy to digest, I think everything's important in it, and I think that's why the movie is effective as it is.
I'm going to give this an amazing grade on my scale. It is one of those movies that if you're getting into found footage and you maybe don't know where to start, I recommend this one because it is horror, but it's not like scare the crap out of you kind of horror. The horror is
Yeah.
more grounded, if you will.
Yeah, it's more like yeah, it's more tame. It's not your Blair Witch Project. It's not anything crazy, or your paranormal activities or your other like found footage films that are actually scary. This is more playing on the thoughts of if you had these types of superpowers and stuff like that, and things went awry, and like what to do with it. And to me, that's a horror esque aspect of things, just because of the fact that it's the unknown. You don't know what these superpowers can do when given to the wrong hands. Obviously, like you saw in the film. So to me, I think I enjoy this one. I really do. I gave this one a 4 out of 5 on my letterbox. Um, Definitely, high marks. I think it's just a really tight film. I think it utilizes everything that it sets out to do, and I think that it's a really solid film. And like you said, it's kind of snowball if you are into trying to get into found footage. I think this is an actual perfect example because it's neutral. It's not the horror film. You know what I mean? This just kind of gives you a little bit of like an appetizer to what, found footage can be.
This is not going to be the last found footage movie, and I'm just going to leave it at that. But I pass it off to all of you. What did you think of Chronicle if you have seen it? Let us know in the comments. We would love to hear what you have to say. If you're listening on audio, do us a favor and give us 5 stars. We would greatly appreciate that. And Russell, where can the people find you?
Yeah, Notorious by Chance is the group that we have on Facebook. That's where we put the polls up for you guys to vote on. Chance and I did record Mulholland Drive. That should be out sometime soon. I think we have something fun coming up in March. I think it's movies that fail to start franchises. I think we're going to be talking about in March. We're going to shake it up a little bit. So you guys can find us there. You guys can find us on YouTube as well, Notorious by Chance. And yeah, also on TikTok.
Very good. Links to that'll be in the description. Go give them a subscribe over there. And as far as Horror Iceberg business goes, in a couple weeks' time, we will be returning and we'll be taking a look at more found footage stuff. However, we'll be stepping into our first franchise here on the Iceberg, And one at a time, we'll be taking a look at the Paranormal Activity franchise, starting with Paranormal Activity number one, the one that started a little studio called Blumhouse and made $100 million on a $10,000 budget. Or was it 100,000? It was 100,000. But it made Blumhouse a lot of money. Let's just leave it at that. But
Yeah.
for Russell, my name is Ryan again. We will see you all in the next one. Y'all take care.